So welcome everyone. So good to see all of you, and looking forward to this wonderful reading tonight on this fall day. Definitely feels like fall. I've got my flannel shirt on already. First time this year. So we've got two wonderful poets reading tonight, and but first, I would like to share a moment of grief that we lost Freddie Frankel.
Oh.
Oh, really?
Died on September 8th at the age of 97.
Oh.
Wow.
Having retired 20 years ago as the psychiatrist in chief at Beth Israel.
Oh, wow.
And at the age of 77, he turned back to his first love, poetry. So it's never too late. I mean, talk about late bloomers. And he came out with, chapbook and a couple of other books, and was a beloved reader in our series. So he will be missed. Another thing is that Rick Ripstein was telling me that the Norse god Odin underwent suffering in order to drink from the mead of poetry and bring it back to the other gods. And I didn't know that about Norse mythology, but I think that's pretty cool. That through the avenue of suffering, you acquire poetry, and maybe it'll interest the gods. I like that. But I want to really start off tonight by sharing a poem from an upcoming book by our beloved mentor and founder of this community, Barbara Helfgott-Hyatt. She has a book that's going to be coming out from Lilly Review Press next year. It's called Come Thunder, and this is the opening poem in that book. And I want to mention that in the introduction, Alexis Ivy says, every poem she has ever written took bravery.
Right.
Lightkeeper's daughter. Blinded by salt, she went out into it, hand to the window with a rag. Vinegar, pale heft, tumult while her brother, warm enough in the stairwell, played. The catwalk held as she turned, the way the light turned in its nest. Clockwork, the whole world a semaphore of sound. Her heart was a chapel in that dark, a love so big it scared her. Her hair iced by sea, wild and fire and full of the spit of life. Brave she was and leaned on herself out there, light sending out its own raw warning. Red, red, white.
Beautiful.
Wow.
And that is in the fashion of how Barbara would start her workshops, reading from a living poet who is exceptional. And we now rank her in that constellation. So our first featured poet is Shana Hill, who grew up in the Boston area. Her poetry is forthcoming or has recently appeared in Ocean State Review, San Pedro River Review, and Slipstream Magazine. Her poem Tide, published by the Museum of Americana, was a 2020 Best of the Net finalist. She is the founder of Poetica Pastor, a business that assists writers in the publication process. Please welcome Shana.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. I'm sorry if there's a glare on my glasses, but I have to have these on in order for me to read.
Sure thing.
I'm really thrilled to be here, and it's heartwarming to see all these faces and reconnect with people in PoemWorks who I haven't seen in a while. But I'm really happy that I've been able to stay in touch with people through some workshops, including with Richard and Karen. So thank you so much for including me tonight. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, so the first poem I'm going to read is called Poem in Which I Try to Take Care of My Poem. I should, for example, sleep beside it, wake with it at 3 a.m. in a sweat. In the morning, I could change the sheets from our night of tantric sex. I could persuade my poem to go on double dates, hang out with more sophisticated poems, banter about oysters and kale. But I do worry, do my poem and I have an intimacy problem? I secretly hate my side of the bed. I wonder if I should tell my poem this. I ask way too much of it. It has its own work to do. I insist we get organized, stop drinking on weeknights, go for a jog in the snow. But my poem has another solution: television dinner. I should soak my poem in Epsom salts, saunter it around the room, drop ecstasy with it, anything to fall back in love.
Nice.
So this next poem is actually a golden shovel. And it's based upon the lyrics from the song Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, composed by Wallace Willis. And the full line, which is repeated twice in the poem, is swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Oblivious at the commune in Cambridge. My uncle visits from Bolivia, strings a tire swing too high so I can grow into it. Low enough I can reach inside its hollow, where he hid the sweet cocoa bars wrapped in boxed foil, filled with cherry flavors that will ooze. Foreign, not Hershey. Oh, save these, Mom says, helps me, tells me, come to the kitchen. I watch her place each bar in the freezer, my favorite birthday gift. I'm 4 and small. So when I am ready to eat, I need someone to carry me to the icebox, to lift me so I can reach inside their icy home. I paw the container, empty, the door swinging shut. Where did they go? They bring me low to where I wonder, gone to heaven, my sweet gifts. In this world, stoned grown-ups watch the chariot in Ben-Hur, laugh at the airplane coming overhead and the poor continuity. My 4 chocolate bars are stolen. They won't admit. Too many adults in this commune, and they carry on about freedom and justice. Me learning what it means to share a home. So this next poem is actually inspired by Barbara, who used to throw a party the night before. It was a dinner the night before Thanksgiving called Misgiving. And I was never able to attend it because I was always cooking and baking during that event. So this is called Misgiving Pie. I scrape Thanksgiving from the bottom of my copper bowl. Find in the utensil drawer my editing knife. Level 1 teaspoon of cynicism. Should I chill? Should I steamroll? I pinch the nerve of dough around the lip of the pie pan, cross my crust with a tisk, blind bake and list my misgivings. My boss told me one day before the holiday, I must write my very own performance evaluation, which later he will skew. It's due on Cyber Monday. I sing to myself, 4 and 20 lackeys baked in a pie. What is left to blend but ambition? The dinger rings. I remove my empty shell from the oven, cross the last two tasks, cool and sigh.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
This next poem is a sestina, and it also takes from, it's from the point of view of a child as well. Walkathon. I told her she had to pay. The rich lady on Bates Street in Cambridge had told her it was $1 a mile. She was mad from the start, but took the pledge for the hungry. She liked her garden, though she probably never touched dirt. I had convinced her. I told her it's a walkathon. On that 20-mile walk, I ate an apple, didn't have to pay for it. When it got down to the core, I threw it in the dirt so it could biodegrade. I learned that word on the bridge we crossed. I wasn't even that hungry, but I had to walk another 5 miles. When I was on the 18th mile, I saw the cameraman, hammed it up like I couldn't walk, pretended I was faint and hungry, made my friends hold me up. They should pay me for this act. But I was just some kid from Cambridge who loved playing in the dirt with worms. I liked getting dirty. I'd never thought about how long 20 miles was. Some guy measured himself across the Mass Ave Bridge, and that was some long walk to Boston. Never really thought about who paid for food. I don't remember being that hungry, except for the kind of food I wasn't allowed to eat. I hungered for Cap and Crunch and Fluffernutter. One time this boy made me eat dirt. I lifted my head. I told myself, someday I'm gonna make you pay. I wonder if he'd walked all those miles too. Does he still walk through that park in Cambridge? I went to that lady's house in Cambridge, told her I finished the walk for hunger. Not only that, but I'd finished the entire 20-mile walk. She scoffed at me like I was dirt. She was ruffled. I only pledged $1, as if she didn't know the miles, and for every mile she must pay. I kicked the dirt of Cambridge on her walkway. 1 times 20 equals 20. It's $1 a mile. She paid me in crumpled ones. Won't go hungry. This next poem is a persona poem. Sand. Water is my mother. No mercy from wind. I can't swim. I settle. When waves sound off, splash, 2, 3, 4. I live in my deep breathing undertow. See that breathless babe pummeled, I pant. She will head to the dunes like a fish with legs. Cling to me, take me. Okay, after my sister's home birth, we inspect the placenta. The midwife takes a salad bowl, places the placenta in a dressing of blood, the 3rd stage of labor, calls it the baptismal cake. I think of marbled steak. She instructs us to assess the lamina, the girth, the smell of coin, not bilious like a liver, more like sirloin. She counts vessels. Is the placenta fearful, misunderstood? It pulses freshly separate from its purpose, breath, food, and waste, from its trinity, mother 44, child not an hour, placenta, week 38, holds the story. The merger of mother and baby in womb is alone. The midwife presses the afterbirth, a final test to see if it bounces back. Like this baby, resilient.
Mm.
Wow.
That's gorgeous.
So this is a pantoum. Moving to a new congregation. When I was baptized at First Presbyterian, the whole congregation sang. They became my godmothers and my godfathers on account of my new holy being, Presbyterian. The whole congregation sang. When Dad sang, he'd tilt his head. On account of our now holy being at covenant, I lost those godparents. When Dad sang, he'd tilt his head. He'd stroke his beard, then stop. In covenant, I'd lost those godparents. Praying always felt like drifting. He'd stroke his beard, then stop, mid-phrase, sort of gone like a man. Praying sometimes felt like drifting when it came to him. Mid-phrase, sort of gone like a man, he'd stop singing. The choir kept on when it came to hymns. He said sighing was a kind of praying. He'd stop singing. The choir kept on. They became my godmothers and godfathers. They said sighing was a kind of praying when I was baptized at first. First marriage at 49. Why did we wait so long to bite, to open the apple of ourselves and press our star core against paper, an imprint of the idea of us? Too late to be some other fruit, no pith or pit, no endocarp, no way to form a seed, no mango strands that cling to stone. Let's say we are infertile and decide to improvise, perfume our way to rot.
Oh my God.
This is actually one of the few poems I have about travel. A trip I did, I sailed for a long time in Australia. Stuck in the Gulf of Carpentaria, Australia. It's not going well for our crew, this mapping of the world. I chart the uncharted gulf, 5 yards deep and shortening. We almost run aground. I'm forgetting how to map. We tried to port, but the man at the jetty waves us away to moor at the Isle of Barigny. A tubular wave of cloud known as the morning glory is piped across the sky. A marvel spanning 50 miles further than we can get. Boats of fishermen warn the sea is filled with tiger and bull shark. We aren't exactly wrecked, but retorn sails have halted us. So we plant ourselves on this island and do things. Hike what can be hiked, past bush site and a lean-to. Go too close to the nest of an Arabini bird and say, smile. Find the missing plane wreck, eat tuna on soppy bread. The fisherman had buried last night's fire next to the new fire. Upon that sand is where one of our crew steps, burns his foot so badly he has to give up walking in salt water for a month. Low on food, we hunt crab. Some of us cross an estuary in the dark, sing loudly to fend off crocs, shush ouches in staccato through the thorny rocks. I stab a sea cucumber. Do invertebrates feel pain? Poor thing. She is just lying there in the current, and I mistake her, cannot get the harpoon out. This is called Saying I Love You. You say it when we walk to the hill where the hoodsie blimp grazes the opposite horizon. You've said it so many times before, You kiss me sticky. You tangle your fingers in my panties. Say it again. After, in the bathroom of the house where we dog sit, we pretend we own that Harlequin poodle. You adore because you say it smiles. And I say, dogs never smile. You get out of the shower. I step forward onto the damp of want, tiptoe to your ear. I say it to your ear. You reply, you sure about that? Third grade girl, 1976, the year of the bicentennial. Mrs. Norbit yells at me for not being confident enough, but I know how to talk back. She yells so close, I see her spit. Grown-ups must be right about me. I joined Girl Scouts for a day. I quit. Mom won't buy the uniform anyway. How come boys always get away with going up my skirt? I quit wearing skirts. They said they'd beat me if I told. They punched me anyway. Boys punch weak. In the fountain, I find green gum stuck in the basin. I pretend it's not there. It's probably Kenny Gilday's. At lunch, he takes out his retainer and leaves it on his tray. I see everything he chews. My only friend is an English girl. I shouldn't have mocked her for losing the American Revolution. She's dainty like a teacup. She won't break. So this next poem is the penultimate poem.
Nice.
I just had to say that. Okay, it's called Tide. In my gut, I am a train with gears that roar. I rush away from petty noise. I growl into nights so ashen, paper floats pressing soot upon a face to tinker with the sleeper. I glide by houses too old, the builders barely knew of trains. And underneath, on rusty song lines crossing, singing latitude and longitude, measuring each lot in smuts or other metrics one might fathom, I know, underneath and underneath and underneath. I clutch the land that I am stitched to. The railway ties together. Trains sing to astonished dirt. We are made of metal. We conduct the crust of earth. So thanks again. I have one last poem, and I really appreciate being able to read. Alsace is not far from this poem. I'm told to savor Pinot Gris, savor it cold in my mouth, twig the taste of ancestry, twig each bud of the tongue. When grapes have stopped falling, what becomes of the stranded fruit? On the vine it shrivels, on earth stomped. I have too much on my tongue. I have nothing but plans. Plans to make a TP of jetin cigarettes. Plans to fly a buttress over the dead cat's dish. So many things need menting. So many coat pockets. So many docs to sarn, letters to invert. So much self-love based upon the opinions of others. Every one of my ancestors stored in my DNA wants to be known, wants to come out and chasten me. Shana, what do you plan to do with this world? Thank you.
Great.
Thanks.
Wow, beautiful.
Oh, wonderful. So many different forms,
Right.
really. and so nice to use the word penultimate. Always nice to know where you are in the reading. Know that
Beautiful, Shana, beautiful.
Right.
you have to
Yeah.
mix your
Thank
voice.
you. Thank you.
Really, really nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really gorgeous, stunning.
Mhm.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we'll have Jonathan Abel as our next feature on November 5th, first Friday of next month. And if anyone still wants to sign up for the open mic for tonight, I still have a few more slots. Otherwise, just sit back and relax. And here we are with our that was our penultimate reader, penultimate feature reader. And our ultimate reader tonight is Karen Elizabeth Sharpe, who is a poet from Westminster.
Turn it louder.
Did I pronounce that right? Westminster, Massachusetts.
Correct.
She works in higher education, volunteers for nonprofits, and spends most of her time exploring the wild outdoors. Karen is a poetry editor at the Worcester Review, and her poems have appeared in Catalyst, the Minzor Anthology, Baseball Bard, Verse Virtual, Columbia Journal of Arts and Literature, Canary, the Journal of the Environmental Crisis, Silkworm, and the Comstock Review, among others. Karen was nominated for a Pushcart Prize, and most recently is a member of the Board of Directors for the Worcester County Poetry Association. Please welcome Karen.
Oh my God. Wow, Shana, I don't even know how to follow you. That work was so brilliant. It's absolutely stunning and gorgeous. It's I don't know about the rest of you, but there's always like, I got a fake background and this is all imposter syndrome happening right now. Ah! Thank you for inviting me to be here. It's really great to see some faces from long ago, tables and travels to France. It's really wonderful. Shameless plug for the Worcester Review. Our fall reading period opened tonight. Submissions for today now through January, and I'll post the link later in the chat. But yeah, poetry, literary fiction, critical review. We'd love to see your work. All right, so thank you again. So as Richard read and shared in my bio, I am most at home outdoors, and I have the great fortune of living in a place that is really connected to that. I live on a small lake in Central Mass, and you'll see how that shows up probably over and over and over again this evening in what I read. So this first poem is called Praying Can Be Anything. Prayer can be a pile of roadside stones beseeching. The quicksand sorrow invokes. The hemlock across the lake, supplicant in thin-needled halo light. Praying doesn't have to be text, wafer, or baptism. Two hands pressed, rosary clicking. Pray for the silver morning light to polish our pandemic sky. The great blue heron keyholing the elaborate blue. Pray for the near perfect rumor of waning snow, crusted, for surety in this late winter night, however stretched and thin. So as I shared, my house is, it's turned out to be kind of an apiary of sorts. I've started keeping a life list of birds, which is a birder's term. I've started learning all kinds of birder things. I think I'm up to like 42 different birds that I've seen just in the last few years. One of the ones that is a repeater is the kingfisher. And So just a little info about kingfishers. They live to be anywhere between 6 and 14 years old of age, and their beaks are these really fine, sharp, dagger-like beaks, and they're hunters that go up into a tree and dive headfirst down and spear fish. It's really quite an amazing sight to witness. This is called How to Know Hunger Like the Kingfisher. Make yourself high on a perch. Plunge headfirst below muscled waves. Plummet of halcyon gash and dagger-shaped bill, 30 feet or more. Pluck the silver slipper craving of fish. Fan your wings and rise. High on a snag of hemlock, pound it bloody red. There's nothing to fear or regret. Swallow head first, whole.
Mm.
So one of the things of this last year that really fascinated me was, or 18 months, was when human activity ceased, that animals almost instantaneously reclaimed their place in our environment. You know, there was all sorts of news stories about animals showing up in different, you know, urban atmosphere or environments and in places you wouldn't expect. Coyotes in downtown San Francisco, goats, that stuff like that. So scientists coined a term called anthropause, which meant that human activity was stopping. And it's curious, so this next poem I wrote last year in October, it's called Black Bear, October Anthropause. I jam the brakes in a dark lurch of shadow, caught in headlight spray. Driveway, hulk. The creature stares back at me with hunger season eyes. All summer, flowers clawed sidewalk cracks. Birdsong shouldered highway drone. Now, her last day's lumber in pre-denning forage and feast before hibernation. As my headlights moon ghost her eyes.
Mm.
You sense a theme probably. So another thing that I was fascinated about in this last year was the scientist. I work at Worcester Polytechnic Institute, which is a STEM engineering school, but you may not know that it has a lot of work in life sciences. And so I'm around these amazing researchers all the time doing really just mind-boggling stuff that I struggle to explain. So it's helped fuel my curiosity for study of what happens to us in this world as our environment changes. So one of the things that happens in COVID is that people tend to lose their sense of smell as a long-term result. And so I became really fascinated with the sense of smell and how we value it. And as it turns out, nobody really cares about the sense of smell. And historically, that's the case. There's been like no longitudinal studies of like, or research into the sense of smell until now. All of a sudden, there's lots of grants to help support work into understanding how smell works. So, I was reading about it and came across this information about how in some of the very short studies, you know, well, there's an epitaph to this poem, which I should just get to. The name of the poem is called A Vestigial Sense, and the epitaph is, majority of kids would rather lose their sense of smell than lose Facebook. which came from PC Magazine.
Oh my gosh.
So, called A Vestigial Sense. The quotes in here, the quoted words are actual historical quotes. So, they think smell is the province of lesser animals, pigs rooting out truffles, sharks scenting blood, dogs olfactory tracking at a park. We have spent centuries writing off Plato's half-formed and Kant's most disposable sense as less than, feeble, insignificant, a vestigial way of knowing, a witchcraft. Imagine, just as a side effect of breathing, intuiting this blue sweater was worn and this white one wasn't. What the petrichord blood of stone now rising from fresh rain will tender the lawnmower perfume of grass and gasoline. Or how a sunset alchemized afternoon recalls your savory chicken, its sweet and tangy red sauce charring on the grill. And even how, blindfolded, fancying the scent that love went for. Forgot to even say this, which is so, one of my favorite words in this poem is petrichord, which is the name of the smell that you smell after when it begins to rain and the water starts to alchemize the asphalt and the earth, the dirt. It's called petrichor, and it can be petrichord. It's just
Wow.
a favorite word.
Yeah.
All right. Ode on Gluttony. Beautiful giant, mother of all sins, you swallow me whole, your wanton plumpness. I slip you on so simply I could cry. You nourish my spare and skinny heart like a tray of lasagna, no one else in the room. You are kinder and more saccharine than my mother's endless chatter. Your effortless comfort fills my ear, better than lunchroom gossip, is more luxurious than the sound of a faked, fanciful orgasm, more delightful than watching the cat menace the golden chipmunk. Throat of throats, I am a crime scene in your presence. You are my binge of Law and Order all Saturday afternoon. With you, I never get out of my pajamas. You're my confidant, my consort, my endless glass of wine. Let's change our names. Bread and butter, cheese and crackers. Let's run away together. Let's get married, bake an enormous cake. Angel food, a mountain of satiation we can get lost in.
That's awesome.
That's great.
All right, Sticks Then Stones. This actually was probably this is an older poem, was one of the first ones that came out of my time at Barbara's table, which I was one of the last era groups, so I'm so jealous of everyone who worked for a long time. This is called Sticks Then Stones. I began kicking the dog, kneeing her brown and white flank, hurting like the Dickens, like the devil, because it never hurts to try. My grandmother said it's because I needed someone to beat on once my little brother got too big, once he learned to kick back. Heels to haunches, fists to ribs, sticks and stones, a world of hurt. As in, you've got to love like you've never been hurt. As in, we only hurt the ones we love. As in, this hurts like hell. As in, oh, cry me a river. As in, hurt people. Who cared back then? Spilt milk. No one tried. Wolf, no one cried. I thought it wouldn't hurt a bit. but it's the truth that haunts the most.
Mm.
The dog took it all, every time, loyal as only love could be.
Ah,
All right, this next poem I felt is appropriate to read given where things are going in terms of women's reproductive rights. It's called Exhalation. Chain smoking in the back seat, I touch the fire end to a new cigarette. Inhale. Tracy across my lap, eyes closed. I tuck the cigarette in her fingers, light another for myself. Car windows cracked, cold air sluicing. Up front, her boyfriend, Jeff, grips the wheel. Pewter countryside sews itself together, winter shivering. This morning we skipped school, drove to New Hampshire with $300 cash, the clinic 2 hours away. Below closed lids, Tracy's eyes scan, cigarette pluming. At 15, neither of us could drive or get an abortion in our state without a parent's permission. We never thought about permission. Rivers of trees stream by. We were twigs, pale and growing inside our dark bark. This poem wants to be a love poem so bad. Billy Idol pulls my hair into pointy blonde spikes, throws a collar on me, and I'm grooving even before my eternal voice went bankrupt. Suddenly, I'm thinking this poem wants to be a love poem so bad. I'm not saying my father abandoned me. He just died, stranding me on the flip side of 13 when I was a needle ready for a vein. I backfill over and over in search of him. I push my way into a scrum of boys, dancing to the radio on the patio. I want to be part of their music. You look like a hooker. It's my mother standing in our orange and yellow kitchen, phone cord twisting round her fingers. You can't go out like that, she says. But I'm trying to look like that, I say. I could, if I wanted, hang Madonna's crosses round my neck, make them want me even more. Also, as a PSA of my poetry readings, I like to talk about the fact that I've had severe depression off and on in my life and take medication off and on in my life, and everyone who needs to should do it and get some help to do it.
Amen.
This is called When I Finally Take the Antidepressants. I read the label on the bottle and sound it out. Escitalopram. I want it to say, escape it again. Exit to Siam. Eggs Turkmenistan. I take my antidepressants like punishment. I stand in the corner. I'm in timeout. I want to spit them out. Wash my mouth out with soap. I want to row away in the difficult ship of my brain. Drink herbal concoctions. Become devout. Pray with a shaman. Get stuck with needles to cleanse my cloudy aura. Escape it again. Medicine of promise. I want to talk about this anchor of sadness, my tedious metaphor about my sinking boat. I want to talk to my therapist. Tell her I'm going to try again. I'll take 2 and call her in the morning. I'm willing to trust her, like I trust in gravity. Looking at the time. Am I at time, Richard?
Do you have a penultimate poem?
Yeah. Let me do my penultimate poem. All right. This is a persona poem called Moon as Witness. I was on the wing. I could hear them laughing, drinking behind the cinder block garage wall. 4 neighborhood boys and a girl, teenagers, their eyes like strobes flashing, laugh, flash, laugh. Then the boys wrestling, 3 on 1. They called him retard, other names. People did that then, said things that offended, laughing. Moths at window lights, tapping, houses behind the wall, fireflies flashing. She was standing, still as a fence post, looking at me, dark skirt of the sky between us. One boy joking a hat on her head, then pulling it. It was over her eyes. Then another tied her hands, eye strobes flashing. I was helpless, barely enough light to see. For nights after I heard the stories, just another wrong place and time. What was she wearing? You know, she was drunk. Boys will be boys. Nights, years later, I hear them, still, now slanting. She should be over it by now. Why bring it up again? Move on. I wish I said something. So much collected blue. I staple up my rotten sky night after night with my own Me Too's. Which would bring me to my ultimate poem.
Okay.
That's good.
And to go full circle with animal outdoor fascination, this poem is called Nucleation of the Wood Frog. And so I need to explain a little bit about that. So wood frogs have special proteins in their blood called nucleating proteins, which allows their organs and vessels to freeze. And they actually freeze and then thaw each season as they live. So nucleation is the scientific action of what happens when they hibernate before they come back. Nucleation of the wood frog. In winter, the wood frog freezes solid beside the pond, buried in leaf litter. Crystallized skin and muscle, heart stills, lungs shut down. Organs dehydrate in the frog's own sweet antifreeze. Pupils crust over. A biological miracle, the frog thaws from the inside out. Warm light emanating from within. Heart beats, brain activates. Finally, legs move in search for love immediate. Eggs, sperm, tadpole into another life. When I was a girl, I adored the outdoors, the wood frog song, to hide in mud, behind trees, learn to trust the shadow beneath the fern, the places outside my father's house. When I was a girl, I learned to shut down like the wood frog when my father strapped me with his belt. Now, at night, I lie still and quiet, a certain unfrozen heart.
Mhm.
Excellent. Thank you.
Absolutely beautiful.
That was great.
Wonderful.
So
Beautiful.
fabulous.
Don't we all have a certain sense that we've been like the wood frog this past couple of years, you know, in a kind of suspended animation? Just
And
love
having a hard time exiting that stage.
That's true. Yeah.
and you know, poems like Exhalation, just the bravery there, and the subtle and exquisite observation of nature. Really, really enjoyed your reading. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks, Karen.
I want to mention this just in, that in order to achieve gender equity, since we've had 2 women poets tonight, we will have 2 men poets next time. That other men poet is a guy by the name of Fran Lunny, who you will hear.
Oh, good.
So we're going to begin a nice part of this conversation with several open mic readers, and we're going to start off with Rick Ribstein.
Thank you, and thank you, poets. That was really a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for putting this on, Richard, and inviting these poets. He barks, therefore I am. I was running down the street, and a dog objected to my passage. He told everyone about it. I said, "Dog, I respect your point of view. I am now moving away from you. You must not doubt it." Later, on the way to work, the people in the subway said nothing to me, but I persisted in being there. I remembered the dog who wanted me gone. I exist, even if you don't care.
That's
Thank you.
good.
Thank you. Next up, we've got Jonathan Abel.
Wonderful reading. It's hard to follow two such talented women. How fragile she was. The first day my mom went completely sad, Dad closed the window shades in their room. Sunlight curdled all it touched. I fell off the counter, gathered my G.I. Joes, the blue stuffed hippo, and plush Snoopy, king of all my stuffies, and faded into my closet where the ceiling sloped from roof to floor. It was no good. Lonely is the very opposite of a good boy. Be as quiet as mom's porcelain sheep and not to move.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Jonathan.
And I should mention that if you are in the open mic, please be sure to unmute yourself and reveal your face, because it is better for the viewers than looking at a black box with white lettering.
Right.
Next up, we've got Connemara Wadsworth.
Okay. This is from a series of poems about the family cabin in New Hampshire. Apparition. Pines and sky frame ruffled water in the mid-morning's quietude. I am alone in our cove, deep in the pages of the City of Falling Angels, when a small rustle interrupts my idyll. A sturdy woman in a head wrap and long skirt stands at the clearing's edge. I am just looking for mushrooms, she declares, her accent unfamiliar. Is that okay? And places a few chanterelles in her basket. After a rain, there are so many. I'm visiting friends over there. Her hand sweeps across the pond. I know not where she points. My interest opens as she talks and plucks, talks and plucks. I would ask where she's from, how to tell which mushrooms are safe. But like the mushrooms she gathers, she leaves as abruptly, as silently as she arrived.
Thank you, Connemara.
Beautiful.
Ooh, and thank you, other readers. This is wonderful, Shana and Karen.
And now we've got Carol Hobbs.
Hi. I'm just so thrilled to have heard Shana and Karen read tonight. Beautiful work, and I kept thinking of the word brave, but I think maybe it's beyond brave. It's this beautiful creation of poetry, and it's not about like being brave, but saying some kind of truth about what you're thinking and feeling, perceiving in the world. And those poems were astounding. Thank you. The poem I'm going to read is called Reflex Brutality. This new month quivers as if some furred creature is savaged in her talons. And each night is a garden under a full moon with its seas like shadows on a mammogram. And nearby, oh, the quickened pause of the creature looped in the bedding, chattering, dreaming of spoilage, skinned and limbed. Prey once swift, now beautifully sectioned for consumption. Hell, no, hello, another month. I search the sheets for who hides in the folds. A reflex brutality I gather to my breast.
Wonderful. Thank you. Next up, we've got Sybil Fetter.
Thank you. It's been, did I unmute? I did unmute.
Yes.
Okay. My computer is telling me otherwise. Yeah, it's pretty amazing to be in this company, even just to sit and listen. From a thick blue glazed bowl, you took a cherry generously offered, then another, discarding pits and stems on the tablecloth, pits and stems gathering on the cloth. One appeared glowing in your spidery fingers, only to be rejected, returned, inedible to its earthen limbo. I caught your eye. Leave it out or throw it away, I thought. If you won't savor it, who will? I've been thinking about cherries since then. Blood dark pulp, perfect stone fruit ass. I hold cherry pits in my mouth until bare, tongue teasing, tracing almost symmetry, like a spine, or deeper divisions, textured like skin, teeth testing endocarp at the center of a bruised fruit, this droopy perfection. If I were a cherry, fleshy, sweet, imperfect, not to your taste, put me gently back. Let another mouth love it clean.
Wow.
Exquisite.
Nice.
Thank you. Next up, we've got Richard Hughes.
Hi. So I don't really consider myself a poet. I'm a songwriter, but I write lyrics, and then obviously I'm Shana's husband, so I'm now, I guess, a quasi-poet.
Oh, wow.
And I during the day, I periodically write notes on my iPhone, and I write some rhymes and poems and things. So I was going to read more than one. Is that okay? I don't know, Richard. Is that? Or should I just pick one? I pick my best one.
Yeah, the ultimate.
Okay. All right.
You're a poet by association.
Okay. That's got a nice ring to it. The music of birds. The music of birds is helping me. The sounds of their words is pretty and sweet, a symphony of song. The harmony of birds is delight, and their morning words shine bright all day long.
All right, read the other one. That was too short.
That's good.
All right, this one's a little edgy. I think we'll go with that. Okay. Burning bridges and cars never got me too far. And if I was a woman, I wouldn't burn my bra. If I had a nickel for every little pickle that I've been in, I'd be a cucumber, soda, and gin.
That's good.
Excellent.
You can hear my wife laughing.
It's good.
Thank you.
Awesome, Richard.
Thanks, fun.
Right.
Nice.
I am in need of finding, there you are, Carrie. Carrie Lohman. Please join us.
Hello. Thank you, everyone. It's been a wonderful night. My favorite things, nature, urban childhood. Thank you. I brought a poem out of the archives It's probably the first poem that I ever finished at Barbara's table. It's kind of a farewell to summer. So, brothers, in their freckled skins, would winch the horned pout from the pond, hand over grubby hand. They'd scruff the collars of the whimpering fish, and towards us taunt barbed lips, and dare us kiss or run away disgraced, as if girls don't thrill to a pinch of pain.
Oh,
Beautiful.
that's awesome.
Gorgeous.
And now our penultimate open mic poet, Fran Lunny, who we'll hear from next time in
Right.
more detail.
Oh, wow. Great.
Hi, everybody. How are you doing?
Good.
Yay, Fran.
Yeah. Hi, Franny.
Woo.
Yeah,
Good to see you.
Yep.
Let's see. I think I'm gonna read something called Adolescence, and all right, here goes. The summer before ninth grade, I fell in love at the carnival with the dark-haired girl who pulled the levers of the Ferris wheel. I hoped she would touch my hand each night when she collected my ticket. All day I waited to be driven to town by my mother to buy a bag of overflowing popcorn, a paper cup of sugar lemonade, Frank Zappa's Dancing Fool blaring from every speaker on the midway as she lifted me over my life.
Beautiful.
Wow. Wonderful.
Good to see everybody.
Yeah.
Lovely.
And it's so great to hear poems that I've been witness to in their making. And now they're all grown up, even published in their final form, you know, their graduation gown and everything. Well, our ultimate poet in the open mic is none other than me, myself, because I can do that, you know?
Yeah. Oh.
Thought I'd share something. And this is a poem that I've been working on, part of a new manuscript. And I've been working with Gray Held, who wrote a book called Two-Star General. And my poems, a lot of them have to do with war and other conflicts. And so I gave birth to them, and Gray is kind of giving them a bar mitzvah. So I'm having a lot of fun seeing them go through these changes, you know? So this is called Verdun Revisited. Bats like underground hollows, old bunkers, perfect for roosting. Yellow-bellied toads and newts spawn in the cool pools of bomb craters. Marsh orchids grow everywhere in the newborn scape. These fields were once wheat and barley, potatoes and rye. Cows wandered the sleepy slopes. Now flowers bloom where bouquets were left at graves. American blue-eyed grass is here too, stowed away as seeds on the hooves of American army horses. And on the German side, wild gentian that the soldiers used to make their spirits.
Good, great.
So that's kind of a wrap for now.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop the recording. But